guys, welcome to the channel, and this is a special build. Well, it's not really a build, it's more like a furnishing and remodel. So this particular build, it's supposed to be a hotel that's abandoned, and Devon Bumpkin here on YouTube, he actually built this, and it's absolutely amazing. I really like it a lot. In his video, which you definitely should check out, I'll provide a link down below for you guys. But basically, this hotel was abandoned, and it kind of just fell into disrepair throughout the years, and it wasn't somewhere anybody wanted to deal with or go to, and it's just been kind of an eyesore. So Devon, he was like, hey, you guys can remodel this, and I was so keen. I was so excited because it's supposed to be a historical build, and you guys know how much I love them. So I was super excited, but little did I know that this was going to be a beast to remodel and just clean up. I actually didn't even record myself cleaning all of the outside because he literally had all kinds of debris and cracks and water stains and everything you can imagine from, the vampire pack, to make things really old and eroded. That's what he used in every single inch of this build. So it took me about 2 hours or so just to clean up the build. So I figured you guys weren't gonna be excited just watching me take stuff out of the build, so you're welcome. I really wanted to stay true to what he was trying to go for in the build, and he had mentioned that he was thinking that it was from the 20s. I personally believe it's from a little bit earlier than that, just based on the architecture of it, but maybe, it was more popular in the 20s, which makes sense to me, because of just how the culture was in the 20s. I actually wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about that. Surprise history lesson. But there was a ton of wealth in the US that followed the Great War, which kind of created a modern era of art, culture, and technology that encouraged the elite, especially in New York, to move to and live downtown in the 20s. This was a new freedom for people, a personal freedom nobody really had before the 20s. And the hotels from the early 1900s, specifically the 20s, were amazingly designed, and they were perfectly managed. And I actually, I was going to go to Chicago this summer, but I never did. But that's one of my dreams, is to see some of the hotels in New York and Chicago that were built in the early 19th century. That's oh, I would love that. So anyway, so these hotels, they were luxury hotels who target audience was the leisure class. It was a lifestyle with money burning a hole in people's pockets and a reputation for fashion, elegant living, and lavishness. It was a lifestyle left over from great family mansions, palace-style hotels of various influences in Manhattan before World War I. And while these new grand hotels offered entertainment on a basic level with big ballrooms and fine dining restaurants for people just visiting, they also rented out and kept up suites that would actually occupy entire floors for elite tenants staying long term. Not only did they provide rooms for visitors, but these hotels were basically highly sought after housing for the leisure class who were accustomed to luxury and who just, wanted to be closer to downtown. From the end of World War I through the 20s, architects in Manhattan built incredible hotels that reflected this lifestyle and this kind of new age in America. At Prohibition's highest point, there was about 32,000 speakeasies that popped up in New York, And New Yorkers hit the town with as much excitement as, before the prohibition. And New Yorkers, were just basically celebrating their prosperity to the new jazz that was popular at the time. And it was very new. It was pretty much like, I don't know, what would be the equivalent? We haven't really had a new music genre in a while. I don't know. Maybe hip hop would be like a new thing, as it is now anyway. So that kind of same feeling, I guess. So the downtown movement was helped by these hotels, actually, like the Sherry Netherland Hotel, the Hotel Perrier, and the original Waldorf Astoria. Since hotel management couldn't legally serve alcohol, hotel goers had to basically find their own way of getting liquor, which was actually pretty easy at the time. And while the hotels continued to supply fine dining meals and room services, basically they would just kind of turn the other way when it came to alcohol. And actually, throughout the Prohibition, hotels continued to be like the top destination for entertainment, because people would have balls or dancing or just go to the restaurants and, have a place to stay after, and it was kind of like a convenient thing for people to have. So we actually had to come up with a story for this build and send it to Aiden. And so this was a little gazebo that I wanted to add on to the grounds because it was very popular in the early 19th century to have gazebos and kind of like a garden area. And you can, just take a walk with your bonny lass and sit in the gazebo and kind of talk and flirt. And unfortunately for me, I accidentally deleted the friezes, the trim on the hotel, and I was complaining about it on Twitter, and I was like, oh god, friezes are the worst. But they really are, though. Like, they go inside the building, and I had a really hard time, like, trying to figure out what the heck to do to make it work again. But anyway, so the story that I gave to Aiden, basically, like, the hotel, I was thinking it was a very luxurious place for the elite to go, and it, I think, began or first opened in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And during the 20s, the gang leaders would meet at this hotel, specifically Alama Capone. So the hotel owner would, let him do his business dealings in the dining hall or the dining room. And so one day the police caught up to Alama Capone, and basically there was a shootout on the grounds, and nobody really, people started to not come to the hotel, and the hotel was given to the son of the previous hotel owner, who was now in prison for doing business dealings with gangsters, and but he still couldn't get people to come to the hotel. So when the Great Depression hit, he just had to kind of shut down the doors. Nobody really wanted it, and it just kind of fell into disrepair until present day, where real estate tycoon and eccentric historical lover decided to buy the hotel and remodel it to its former glory. So that's the story. But as far as the haunted part, people still talk about the ghost of Alama Capone, haunting the grounds, trying to figure out who ratted him and his boys out to the police. So yeah, that was my story about the hotel. I thought it would be nice to add on a swimming pool to the back of the hotel. because I just figured it would be a nice amenity to have in a modern hotel anyway. So I like the idea of using these bulb standing lights, these standing outdoor lampposts, because they just looked 20s to me. So I thought that would be really nice to add some lighting to the outdoor porch area. I'm pretty sure I left everything outside as it was except for the fence. I figured that wasn't that big of a deal, but if it was, I'm sorry, Aiden. And also the hotel sign in the front on top of the building, Aiden said not to touch it, but I kind of did. So sorry about that. It just bothered me that it wasn't centered. That's the thing. I did have this lot on the 50 by 50 lot in Willow Creek, but it was glitching out on me. So I actually ended up moving this hotel to the 50 by 50 park lot that's in the center of Willow Creek. So, but I didn't really mind, honestly, because I really liked the scenery around it. I felt like it was more like the countryside, which I think would be really nice for a hotel like this. So I found this out by accident, kind of. If you put the trays, if you use Move Objects on and you put the like 3 trays, or not, they're not trays, but like bar carts. Yeah, if you put the bar carts together, the middle one will lose the handle. So you'll have handles on either side, but not in the middle. And it makes this really nice looking like end table, or like media table. I don't know what they're called, but the tables that you usually like put behind the couch or whatever. I thought that was awesome. And I'm probably going to use that somewhere else too. I think I ended up changing the sofas to where they're not L shapes just because they weren't centered right and it wasn't looking good to me. So I think I just ended up putting 2 sofas like facing each other. But this is pretty much like the grand sitting room. This is where you would meet people, or if you were waiting to be seated at in the dining room for dinner or for lunch. I don't imagine it'd be a breakfast place because I actually added a breakfast dining area in the other side of the hotel. So this would be more like a formal dining area, and well, the room on the right there. But this area here in the front is just a sitting area that most hotels have in their lobby anyway. So, and maybe jazz performances would happen here, so you can come here, have some wine, and listen to some jazz on the piano there. I thought that'd be really cool. I actually went to a hotel in Orlando. I forget what it's called, but in the lobby area, they would have jazz performances from the professors that actually taught jazz at the at UCF, or University of Central Florida. Yeah. So they were really amazing, and I actually went there with someone I was dating previously, and it was so nice. It was like good food, great drinks, and just a really nice atmosphere too. So I was kind of inspired by what I remember of that time of my life where I went to this hotel downtown, you know, feeling like a 20s socialite or whatever. So I thought that the booths were a little bulky to put along the walls, so I ended up swapping those out for just white linen covered tables and the amazing chairs that came with the vintage glamour pack. And I think I put the booths actually centered in the room, which ended up working pretty well. I think that looks really nice. And I also feel like it's a little more realistic to what an actual restaurant would look like, especially fine dining. Those of you who watch the Chef's Table documentary series on Netflix, which I highly recommend if you like documentaries and if you like food, definitely check that out. It's amazing. But I noticed in a lot of fine dining places, they would have these booths that were kind of like back to back in the center. So that's kind of why I did that. And then this big area here to the side of the dining room is the kitchen. Oh, I did label or use the lot type as a restaurant because I always feel like if you're trying to make a hotel in The Sims, it just makes a lot more sense to make it a restaurant because you'll have the staff kind of running around, and if you put the host station, or not the host stations, but yeah, they are the host stations. The host stations where you would normally put the check-in counter, they really do look like hotel staff that, you know, would help you check in to your room or, you know, say, oh, do you have a reservation for the dining room? Stuff like that. It actually looks really realistic. So if you do have dine out, and if you don't, why don't you? It's amazing. But if you do, it's really great for hotels. I think it makes the most sense out of all the lot types. Maybe a bar? I mean, it depends what hotel it is, I guess, but I've had the most luck making hotels a restaurant. So now we are outside, and I actually saw someone do this. I think it might have been Taz on Twitter. She mostly is. She's famous for her Yogi Bear, but she makes some really amazing stuff. But I think I saw her do this. She used the chairs from the Parenthood pack, and I thought, oh, you know, they look really cool as lounge chairs, like fancier lounge chairs than what you would normally use from like the patio stuff to make lounge chairs. So I really like that for this build. It just gave it a touch of elegance that it needed, I think, in the pool area. So outdoors is some more seating for the dining because the dining area is actually not that big for this big of a hotel, so I thought some outdoor seating would be really nice, especially, you know, having a view out to the pool and the surrounding scenery. So yeah, I thought that was really nice. So this is the breakfast dining area, and I wanted it to be very light and fresh. This is where you would come for breakfast or like a like, you know, your bagels, your fruits, coffee, tea, things like that for people who are staying at the hotel. And it would, of course, be freshly made every morning. So on this counter, I put, you know, water pitcher, and I think I put the fruit in the muffin case here on this counter. Oh no, I extended it. That's nice. And just some plants for ambiance and some of the tea, and I thought the bread container would be a good idea too in case people want some toast or something. And I loved adding these like giant windows. So there's like a informal like seating area in front of the windows here. Let in a lot of really nice light, I think. And, you know, just in case you don't want to sit at a table, you can sit on the couch here, drink some coffee, read a newspaper, whatever you want to do. I switched up the couches to be striped because I thought that was a nice contrast to the black and white tiles and the wallpaper and all that. Gave it some texture. I loved the idea of using this like eggs and fruit. Just, you know, to drive it home that this is where you eat breakfast and brunch. I thought it was a nice touch to have the blue hen with the eggs. So this is just the kitchen, and there's not really, you know, anything too special about the kitchen except for maybe like the two like cooking stations that are kind of butted up next to each other in the center, which I also have seen in Chef's Table, which inspired me to do that. Some of these chefs, they have like these giant setups that are kind of centered in the kitchen, just so everyone can like work together and he or she can see what's going on more easily. So in the front of the hotel, I thought since this is a very luxurious high-end hotel that they would have a valet, out here in the front. So I gave, you know, the valet a little desk, a fan since it can get hot outside, and all the keys to the cars above metal drawers or whatever it is. I actually had a hard time with the layout of the top floors for all the rooms and stuff, just because it's such an irregular shape of a building. So a lot of the rooms are very irregularly shaped and kind of weird, but I made it work, and I think it adds a lot of charm to the build. I actually didn't record all of me furnishing all the rooms because there is quite a bit, but they're all basically they all look kind of the same. They have the same wallpaper, the same furniture pretty much, and the same kind of layout. Some are just bigger and a little bit fancier. Maybe has a little more amenities if it's like a bigger suite or a presidential suite or something like that, but they're all pretty similar in decor and layout. But you guys can definitely see everything in a little more detail in the video tour at the very end, as well as if you just download the build and check it out for yourself, because there is a lot of fun stuff in this one. And thank you to Aiden for giving us this incredible build to just mess around with and make beautiful again. And thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye guys!